Hello, everyone. We are going to take a look at this case study. Every day counts. So, what has happened in this situation? So, attendance at the Golden Oak High School has noticed a decline within the past few years. And last year had the lowest percentage of student attendance of all the high schools in the district. Now, Mr. Rhodes, the principal, is working with Mr. Newman, the school superintendent, to develop a plan toward school improvement and to discover why the attendance is declining. So, in his investigation, he found 5 students who had been absent more than 10 days during the semester. Karen, Tyrone, Christina, Carl, and John. Starting with Karen. So, Karen is an 11th grade student. She earned all A's and B's her freshman and sophomore year. She's always received positive comments from her teachers about her work. She was even inducted into the National Honor Society her sophomore year. Usually, she has been missing Mondays and Fridays, and the quality of her work has begun to decline as a result of these absences. One thing to note is that she was married this past August, right before the start of school. Tyrone is a 10th grade student, and he also is in the honors program. He has been on some long absences, long trips, and because of that has missed almost 2 weeks of school. His parents kind of deemed these as for educational purposes. And they also assured teachers that all the classwork would be completed. His homeroom teacher also approved the second week's absent from school, even though the policy only gives them 3 days. Christina is a freshman. She missed several days of school during the first 3 weeks. She had form letters signed by the minister for her to attend out-of-town church meetings. But the information was a little vague about that. Her homeroom teacher did approve these letters, but the algebra teacher is concerned because she missed 2 major exams, and so the algebra teacher has requested a conference with Christina's parents. She also has been getting C's and D's in many of her other subjects. Carl is also a 10th grade student, and he takes vocational classes in the afternoon, so he goes to a completely different campus. When he had several absences and when the truancy officer approached his parents, the officer found that parents don't really support attendance. His father was really upset that the school was getting involved. He thought it shouldn't be their business, and the father has told Carl that he can work for him if he doesn't finish high school. Carl also has a younger brother and sister that are enrolled in feeder middle and elementary schools. We don't, however, have information on their attendance records. John is the last student, and he is a junior. He also is the quarterback for the football team and recently suffered an injury. The doctor did tell him that he could play again if he goes to physical therapy. Unfortunately, physical therapy is only available on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 12 to 2:30 p.m. So that would require him to miss a good chunk of school 2 days a week. He also has received a note from the athletic director that he was excused on Friday afternoons to go home and rest during football season. His teachers have not reported his absences as excessive. So, what are the legal and ethical issues involved in this scenario? So, Golden Oak High School's attendance policy also aligns with state law, which does allow excused absences for illness, death in the immediate family, inclement weather, or another valid reason excused by the principal with prior approval. The school also does give students 3 excused absence days for personal reasons. One of the big problems, though, is that the homeroom teachers have been addressing attendance issues without the school administrator or counselor input. The athletic director has favored and supported absences for varsity players. Teachers are accountable for accurate documentation of student attendance, and there are 2 teachers in the school who are planning on retiring soon, and they have not been reporting student absences regularly. The school counselor has also proved to be negligible in resolving student achievement decline. So that's another problem there. So in summary, what has happened? School personnel and parents are not consistent and they're not harmonious when enforcing the school attendance policy, and it's resulting in declining student attendance, which then in turn does affect student achievement. So who is involved in the situation? So the students represented in the case are a mix of male and female students. They're in grades 9, 10, and 11. The race and ethnicities of the students are not known. The parents work in the metropolitan area next to the community. Some work in professional positions, and some also manage small businesses or they work in the local industry. One thing to note, too, is that parents spend at least 1 to 2 hours commuting, which does leave them with little time to support their children's extracurricular activities. Mr. Rhodes, the principal, first year principal at Golden Oak High School. He's working alongside Dr. Newman, who is the superintendent. Another thing to note about the teachers at the school, there is a very low turnover rate among the teaching staff, and most teachers have at least 10 years of experience in their current assignments. Where does this take place? So Golden Oak High School is in a suburban community, but it is next to a larger metropolitan area. Most of the residents in the community are middle-class families, while there are a few outliers of students who come from very high or very low-income families. Recently, the student population has also become more diverse, with more Hispanic and Asian families moving to the area. And Golden Oak High School also serves 965 students in grades 9 through 12, so it's a decent-sized school. There are several extracurricular activities offered, including 31 clubs and 11 different sports. Football, however, is the dominant sport. So what are the risks involved with all of this? So parents have a legal duty to educate their children, and they could face consequences if their child is not in school. They could receive visits from truancy officers. They could just be held accountable. And if their child is not receiving an equitable education to prepare them for the future, that also affects the parents, because their child isn't going to be as equipped for their future. The school personnel could also face consequences. They are accountable for providing accurate student attendance documentation. Sometimes this documentation is used for legal proceedings within family matters. And so they must be able to demonstrate the capacity to apply laws, policies, and regulations. When students are not in school, they are not receiving the education they need. So students are also greatly affected by this. Being in attendance has been proven beneficial for students' well-being and also preparing them for future success. And then another important thing to note is that the reputation of the school, the teachers, and then other personnel are also at risk. So some possible solutions. Teachers and school personnel who've been negligent in reporting absences could receive disciplinary action. Parents could also be held more accountable and responsible if they're unwilling to participate in a solution. Another thing to note too is it's important to encourage parents to provide positive messages about school to their children. So if you have cases where parents are telling their kids it's not a big deal that they're in school, kids aren't really going to see the importance of being in school. And so it's really important that it starts at home. Um, it's another possibility to create an incentive or a reward system for good attendance. It would be one more thing to manage, but it is a possibility. Also, professional development or a staff meeting, just to ensure that all staff are trained and that they all know the procedure and the policy regarding absenteeism. Always really important to build positive relationships between the teachers and students. Students are more likely to come to school if they feel their teacher cares about them. Could develop or create a mentor program to help kids stay accountable and motivated to come to school. Um, it is also possible to create a contract with coaches and athletic directors, with some common agreements and expectations that students must follow in order to be on the team. So, for example, if students are missing more than 10 days of school, or if they're chronically absent, they may lose. They may be at risk for having to leave the team. So the pros and cons of each solution. So I kind of narrowed it down to 5 solutions, 5 possible solutions, and the pros and cons that come with that. So one solution is that teachers and school personnel who are negligent, they could receive disciplinary action. So the pros of this is that there is accountability. The con, however, is that the relationships with many of these staff members could be affected in a negative way. You may receive pushback from personnel. It may also lead to the loss of really good teachers or coaches. Another possible solution is to create an incentive or a reward system for good attendance. And the pros of that are that you could reward students who consistently attend class, and it may decrease the amount of absences. The cons, however, is that it may not be a long-term solution. It's possible that students may at first have a lot of buy-in, but then they may get bored of the reward. It also creates more work for teachers and staff to have to manage. Another solution is a mandatory parent meeting or workshop. It's possible that some parents may not have been aware of how many absences their child really had, or even the effect of these absences. And parents may leave from a workshop like this feeling equipped to deal with this issue. And it would get parents and staff hopefully working together and on the same page. However, some of the cons might be that parents, they may feel inconvenienced. You may receive pushback from parents, and some parents just may not show up. Another possibility is to create a contract with coaches and athletic directors with common agreements and expectations that students must follow in order to play on the team. So pros of that are that athletes would be held accountable for their grades and attendance, and they wouldn't be given special treatment as they have been in the past. Cons, however, are that this only deals with athletes and it doesn't really deal with all of the other students that are dealing with chronic absenteeism. Another solution is just a whole school and district training on the school absence policy to ensure that everybody is aware of the policy, what counts as an unexcused or excused absence, and that everybody is on the same page. The pros of this are that it works to get everyone on the same page. It does really highlight how important being in school is, and by having a whole school professional development, it really helps to signify the significance of this issue. The cons are that it does take up teacher and school personnel time, and it is not a guaranteed buy-in from teachers and staff, which could also be a con. So the solution that I came up with was that to combine a parental meeting workshop and a whole school professional development on the absent policy. I just believe that this is the best way to get everyone on the same page, and that hopefully helps people to understand that we're all working toward the same goal, which is school improvement and student development. The meeting would go over the school's absentee policy, what counts as an excused absence, what does not. It's also a great way for the school to bring up data and to show data to support that students being in school makes a big difference in their academic performance. And it would be another good time to just show data, to parents to support students' benefits of being in school, because some parents may not think it's a big deal, but when they see the data that backs up how important it is for students to be in school, it may help to gain more buy-in. So the plan of action is that first, the principal will send a school-wide email informing parents and school personnel. That includes coaches, teachers, athletic directors, counselors, specialists, and all building leaders. The email will contain an in-service date, and it'll be used for professional development for staff, and a weeknight date for parents to attend a meeting. There will also be a Zoom option for parents who cannot attend in person. Then at both the professional development for staff and parent meeting, there's going to be a data-informed presentation to also just make people aware that this high school has the worst attendance of all the high schools in the area. I think we need to use these statistics to really bring home our point. Staff will be shown the data that supports the benefits of student being in school, and also how chronic absenteeism can affect achievement. Staff and parents will also be reminded of the school policy, what counts as excused, what counts as unexcused absences, and the consequences of not following this. Parents and staff will also be reminded of the importance of providing positive messages about school and about being in school for students. Last, it would be best to follow up and revisit with staff and parents after these meetings to see if they have noticed improvement, need assistance. This might be a good time for a survey. And if this plan does not work, it may require more serious action. This may be when certain disciplinary measures for parents and staff, for students who don't follow the policy may have to come in. So overall, this is the overview of the case. And this is the plan that upon reviewing the case, I have decided is the